In this video, we will be looking at some methods that can take arguments or parameters. So in the past video, we just saw these methods, but they don't take any arguments here. They were just like blank methods, empty methods. All that the method needed was already available. Hungry was the only variable it needed. Sleepy was another variable it needed. These need not be given to the method. It already knew how to access that. But there are some situations where we have to, as the user from wherever you're calling it, you have to provide the value that it can use inside the method. So we are going to see one such example here. So we talked about the cat example here. So let us say that the cat can eat two types of food, cookies and cups of kibble. So these are two new variables I added. These are going to be private variables. These are going to be only managed inside the class and not available outside. Let us assume that these two variables are going to be available. This will hold the number of cookies. This will hold the number of kibbles that the cat can eat. Now, when we create a new object, let us assign some default value for the food. So here we can say each cat will get 5 cookies in its cookie jar, and then it will have 5 cups of kibble in its pantry. Okay, let's do that for both constructors. So no matter how you create, you still have food available for the cat. So this is the stockpile for the cat. So this is what you can feed the cat from. So every time the cat eats, we have to change this value. Cups of kibble. We want to change this value. Let's say you feed the cat once and you give it 1 cookie and 1 cup of kibble. Next time the value should be changed to 4. And then if you feed 2 more cookies, it should become 2 less, and the cups of kibble should not be affected. What happens when these become 0? That means you can't feed the cat anymore. Okay, so that will tell you whether there is enough food available or not. So this is the example. So the assumption here is the person that's feeding will decide what they're feeding. They'll say, I'll give you 2 cookies or a cup of kibble or whatever it is. So which means here, as a user, I want to feed this cat some food. So I will say 2 cookies and 1 cup of kibble. Okay. Right now, the method cannot do that because it does not have any parameters. Parameters are just values you are passing from the calling function, from the calling place, from the program.cs. At the time of calling a method, you pass these values to your function, so your function or method can actually use it. So here we want it to look like int cookies, int kibbles. So this is the name of the parameter. Okay, so I want to say eat 2 cookie and 1 cup of kibble. So that's what I'm trying to send. So this means 2 goes to, so if you hover over the eat, you can see the first parameter is cookie count, second parameter is kibble count. So the order of the parameter matters. If you change the value, if you want to like feed 2 kibble cups and 1 cookie, so you have to make sure that you're following the order. And when you hover over your method, based upon the definition, it will tell you what the parameters are and you have to populate that accordingly. So this is my assumption. Okay. So first of all, when the cat is hungry and it wants to eat, first let's make sure this is not an invalid value. So we can do that by saying if cookie count less than or equal to 0 and kibble count less than or equal to 0, that's my validation. So this would be invalid and these are valid. So that's what the cat's gonna say. And then remember that the cat did not eat at this point. So this is invalid, right? The cat's hungry, he wants to eat, but unfortunately we have not given it enough food. So the cat will still be hungry. So did cat eat will be false. Okay, so we are passing two parameters, they are both integers in this particular example. I mean, you can have it as double if you want. So, I mean, let's make this double. Just so you can see a variation. Because it's cups of kibble, it can be a decimal value. Okay, now we are here. So we have an integer, first parameter double, second parameter. So here I can say eat 2 cookies and 1.5 cups of kibble. So if you see here, I had another method calling with no parameters and that's giving me an error because we changed the signature of the eat method. The eat method now requires you to pass the parameters. So there is no way that we can pass nothing. So let us try this also. If we give 0, 0, what happens? Let's test this value. See what happens. Okay, so let's step through the method and see what happens. I got a successful build. So when I go into this method right now, cat's not hungry, so it doesn't go through the method. Now the cat's playing, so he will become hungry. So we are now passing a 0, 0. Let's see what happens. So is cat hungry? Yes. So we are going into the first condition. So see here, cookie count is coming as 0, kibble count is coming as 0. So that's what I passed. So they both are less than or equal to 0, which is bad because then we are feeding nothing. So it is saying invalid cookie count and kibble count, please feed me properly. And then this is false. Even though we called the eat method, the cat did not eat. Okay. So now let's try it. Let's try the other scenario. Move this guy here. Okay. So first time it's going to play, then it's going to eat, but that won't be successful because we are feeding it 0 kibbles and 0 cookies. So the second time we call the method, that should work. Let's step into the function. So the cat's hungry. So this is not the situation, which means the cat can eat now. So this is good. The only problem is even though the cat ate, we have not changed the value for cookies or cups of kibble. So every time the cat eats, that value has to change. So we are going to write a function just to do that. Remember that we are doing this incrementally, a very small quantity of code at a time. So that way we can eliminate any mistakes. So first we actually changed our method to take the two parameters, and we changed our function method call to also take two parameters. So that's the first step we did. Second step is we validated our parameters. This is very important. We can't assume that the right value will be passed. Now we are going to decide how to recalculate the food. So let's create a function called recalcFood, and then we will be sending cookie count and kibble count in this particular function. So this is a brand new function. It is only it's internal. So we can say void recalc food. So this has to be double. So it returns nothing. So what I'm going to do now is, so cookie total cookies equal to cookies minus cookie. Total kibble, cups of kibble equal to cups of kibble minus kibble. So what we are doing is we are adjusting how much food is being used up so that at any point in time we show the stock correctly. So again, we are making an assumption these two parameters are okay. So let's add a validation here. So let's say I have 5 cookies, I'm trying to feed 10 to the cat. Well, that's gonna fail. So it's going to be if cookies greater than, if cookie is greater than cookies, so let's say like let's say that we want to feed 10 cookies, but we only have 5. All we do is we feed what we have, and then we set the rest of the cookies, the total cookies, to 0. So this just wipes off everything, every amount of food that we have, but at least the cat gets fed. So I'm just adding this as an else condition. So if cookie, the number of cookie we are feeding is greater than total cookies, then we set cookies to 0. Otherwise, cookies equal to cookies minus what we fed the cat. Same thing here for kibbles. This method is a void method, so we are not returning any value. And remember that it is a private method, which means it is not available outside. So let's try this logic now for the same thing. So here's my program that's running. So first for the 0, 0, I got invalid cookie count and kibble count. Please feed me properly. So that validation is good. Let's go into the method now. So this is the first validation. So I'm here. So I just want to like check this recalc food. So now I'm trying to feed it 2 cookies and 1.5 cups of kibble. So let's go in here. So that's what you're getting here in cookie and kibble. If cookie more than cookies, which is not the case, so it will go to the else condition. So I'm feeding 2 out of the 5 cookies. So I should have 3 more remaining. See, I have 3 now. Same thing for the kibble. So 5 minus 1.5 is 3.5. So this is all good. Let's go to the second call. So here I am giving an unrealistic number. This is more than what I even have, which means it should feed what we should feed what we have in hand, and then just set the total amount available to 0. So let's see how that works. So these are just the rules and regulations I am giving, the constraints I am working with for my cat class. Depending upon the requirement that you're given, the validation will have to work. Okay, so let's just directly go to our recalculate method. Oh, I think I didn't have any breakpoint. Let's try that one more time. Okay, don't want any breakpoint here. Okay, so here I said this is the first time it's coming through. So now is the situation where it's a ridiculous amount, more than we have. Okay, it skipped that. Okay. $40 and $40. So now it's hungry. See, number of cookies we are trying to feed is 40, total available is 3. So we feed what we can and then we reset that to 0. Same thing for the other situation. So remember to always like test. If you're having an if condition, you want to make sure that you test all the scenarios. It's absolutely important that you do that. Otherwise, you're going to assume that something works when it doesn't. And quality of your code is really important. So make sure that you test all the paths in your code with sufficient data. This code will be available in GitHub for you to take a look. It is going to contain all the changes that we have done so far, including all the properties with it, the methods, the constructors, and all of that. See you soon in another video. Thank you.